Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Fatin Nabila from Group F, and this is our project demonstration for the group project. So our project is about a heart failure prediction, which it can predict whether the patient is at risk of a heart failure or not by filling the information that we have set. This system can be used for education purpose, or it either can be used in the healthcare industries. So first, let's try a few examples of inputs to see the variation of outputs. So the first one is the age of the patient, then whether the patient have anemia or not, which is a decrease of red blood cell or hemoglobin. We have to enter the level of CPK enzyme in the blood, then whether the patient have diabetes or not, the ejection fraction, which is the percentage of blood leaving the heart at each contraction, then whether the patient have high blood pressure or not, the platelets, the amount of platelets in their blood. Then is the level of creatinine in the blood, and next is the level of sodium, the gender of the patient, and whether the patient is smoking or not, and lastly is the follow-up period, which is the follow-up period after the heart failure event. And lastly, we're going to click the predict to predict whether this patient is at risk of heart failure or not. And as here we can see the patient is at risk of a heart failure. Next, we'll try to see whether this model is reliable or not by testing it on a patient that is not at a risk. So and here we can see the example of the patient that is not at a risk of heart failure. And lastly, let's try one more example of a patient. And here is another example of a patient that is at risk of a heart failure. So next, let's see our coding for this system. Okay, so there are two parts for our prediction system, which is the first one is the model, the algorithm itself, and the second one is the GUI part. So the first one, first we import all the libraries that will be needed, for example, such as pandas, sklearn, and imblearn. Then we load the dataset into the IDE, and then we pre-process the data, and we are looking for the death event, which is they are at risk or not. Then we do feature scaling by using standard scaler, and then we handle class imbalance using SMOTA, which is used for synthetic minority oversampling. It generates synthetic samples to balance imbalanced dataset, specifically targeting the minority classes. Then we split the data into training and testing set, and then we use grid search CV to find the best hyperparameters for gradient boosting classifiers. And for this model, we use the gradient boosting classifiers because it is the highest model accuracy that we get, and for this it is 85%. Then we proceed with the model, and then we test the models, and that's all for the algorithm part. Next, the second part is the GUI itself. We use tkinter, and here is the function for predicting the heart failure, where it will retrieve the user input and then create a data frame for the user input, and then it will scale the user data and predict the risk of the heart failure using the model we have chosen before this. And then it will display the result. If the prediction is equal to 1, it will show a warning saying that the patient is at risk. Else, if the prediction is 0, it will show that the patient is not at risk. And then here is the GI part with the title, the labels, the entries, and so that is all for our demonstration of our heart failure prediction. Thank you.